Right now, we talk to a busy man. He's not only the manager of the AAA team for the Arizona Diamondbacks in Reno, Nevada. He's also the father of two major leaguers in Kevin and C.J. Cron. It's the father, Chris Cron, joins us right now here on Roundtrip. Chris, it's Jim Memolo and Jeff Joyce. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
So you got yourself a couple of power-hitting major league first basemen. What were you feeding and teaching these guys as kids?
I wish I knew the whole way it worked, because I would have bottled it up. I would try to sell it to all my friends and family and see if I couldn't make a few more. But we were just a baseball family. Me being a minor league manager when they were growing up, and being around the field and just playing, hitting all the time. And, sure, they ate a lot, and I can't remember those stories as much as I can about, just being at the field and being in the dugout. And I always say they learned a lot through osmosis of just being in the dugout. And I can't teach them everything that they've ever learned in the game in one fell swoop. It comes over time. And they sure were sponges. They love being out there. They love everything about the game, from that point when they first started to the point where they're at right now in their lives.
So how is it being a dad during the season while you have your own job to worry about?
I have the best job in the world as being a dad to big leaguers. CJ's been on the East Coast for the last couple of years, in the Midwest last year. So I get to the park, at my regular 1 o'clock range or whatever that is, and I got to fill out a lineup card, and I got the game on. CJ's playing. He starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're about ready to take BP. You come in and you get, I very rarely, if ever, miss an at bat by him. With Kevin, it's a different story. He was actually on my team for most of the year last year, so I obviously saw all of his at bats. And if I miss it live, I have we all have the capability of going on MLB.com or something and seeing all the highlights or what have you. So I never miss an at bat. I'm always texting and talking to him every day, just saying how you feeling, how to go today, or I haven't been able to look at the at bats yet. Tell me about them, and they'll fire me back a text, and that's just how we stay in touch. And the baseball season is absolutely the best time of the year for me, because with two boys playing, in my job, I have plenty to do, and I just love everything about my job. I'm very, very blessed to have been in the game for as long as I have, and doing what I've done, and now that the boys doing what they're doing, it's just an absolute blessing.
Well, obviously, having Kevin last year, your son, at AAA, and he made his major league debut, so managers always relish the opportunity of getting to tell a guy when he's going to get called up to the major leagues. So what was it like, the experience to be able to tell your son he was going to get called up to the major leagues, and how hard was it? Because usually managers try and plan something. They'll call him into the office, make him think like maybe he's doing something wrong, or he's getting sent down even, to Double A. So what was that whole thing like for you to be able to tell him he was getting the call up?
Well, there's no doubt I wanted to. I had plans in my head, of what I wanted or how I wanted this to work. You've all seen the pictures where the manager walks out there and takes the ball from him, and you see a big hug, and he told him that, hey, you're going to the big leagues up there, or some, to that, I would have liked to have done that for Kevin, where he was, in the on deck circle, he was walking up to the plate, and I'd have a guy ready, and I'd tell the trainer, hey, get your phone, going so we can take a picture, or, take a video of this. It'll be a keepsake forever. I'd post it on Twitter or whatever, and social media, and it would be great. But obviously things don't work out the way you planned. It was just one of those days where, one of those situations where you call a kid up or you tell him, hey, we're not for sure it's going to happen. So my boss calls me and says, hey, my boss, Mike Bell, of the famous Bell family, who's got plenty of kids and whatever in the big leagues and playing too. He says, hey, I'm sorry to tell it to you this way, but they need to get Kevin up to San Fran. We don't know if he's going to get called up or not, and I'm in the background just pumping my fist, jumping. I'm not jumping in the air or anything, but I got my fist raised in the air. I go, Mike, I could care less. This is as close as he's ever been in the big leagues. I'll get him going. I'll get him going to the thing. So, of course, now we're kind of on a time thing because he needs to leave in an hour and a half to get to the airport. We're in El Paso. He needs to pack up his stuff. We're on the road. He needs to get his stuff from the clubhouse. It's kind of a quick turnaround here. So I basically just go knock on his door. Now, I don't go knock on everybody's door all the time. I probably do it for the first-time call-up guys, but a lot of guys. I called up a guy earlier in that morning, and I just called him on the phone and said, hey, Tim LeCastro, you're going back to the big leagues. Congratulations. You know the drill. I'll see you. I hope I don't see you again type thing. And with Kevin, it was kind of like I knocked on the door, basically just raised my head and said, dude, you did it. You're going to the big leagues. And I gave him this big bear hug and, two big men hugging each other. And, he's got his head over my shoulder and I can hear him. I can hear this 6'5", 250-pound man, crying in my arms. And it was the greatest feeling in the world. I'm obviously crying. And then the manager mode is not on anymore. It's all dad mode. And hey, let's get packed up. Do this. I'm calling the travel guy. I'm calling the club, which I don't do any of that stuff when it's just somebody normal, a normal call up. But he got there, had his debut. I was fortunate enough from the Diamondback organization where I was able to go there and experience it myself and my family. It was just a great experience, without a doubt.
So obviously this emotional build-up. Did you miss him a couple of days after he left, or was there a little bit of a come down there for a while? I know you got a job in front of you, but still.
Yeah, no, it's very, very hard to explain to people what it's like to be managing your own kid in professional baseball, and and then obviously calling him up is another level. But to have him around, I've been in and out of, I was the roving hitting coordinator for the Diamondbacks for 5 years. So I would come in for 5 days and I would, be there and I'd see him play and stuff like that. Or I might go see CJ play for a 3 or 5, 6 game homestand or something like that. But this was totally different. This is on the bench. This was early work. This was talks in the office. This was traveling on plane flights, buses, whatever you want to call, we did it all together. And, it was just really nice to see. I think one of the nicest things about it was just to see his camaraderie with the teammates in the clubhouse. When you're in AAA, you have a lot of guys who played in the big leagues. And some guys have been there, 5, 6, 7 years, and they're back down trying to get themselves back up to the big leagues. And Kevin would be in there, and he would be able to hold his own. I mean, if not hold his own, he would be, even better than that. It was so rewarding to see how he was a big part of that clubhouse culture and how good everybody got along, and that was a more proud moment. That was a big proud moment for me to see him be able to do that, because I heard that about him in the past. And I didn't get to experience it all that much because you're only in and out for about 5 days as a hitting coordinator. But that was just a joy to watch, and to see him handle himself like a professional, which you obviously want them to do as professional baseball players. So it was really cool.
It's always got to be weird. He's primarily been a first baseman in his career, so you're in an organization where you had Paul Goldschmidt for years at first base, and then maybe he's thinking like, oh, okay, hey, Goldie's gone, maybe I get an opportunity. And then Christian Walker has a huge season last year at first base, and then maybe you kind of float back down and say, oh, man, now I got another guy that I got to compete with here. But he's also added third base into the mix here the last couple of years. So positional-wise for him, what do you kind of see him doing here as far as maybe trying to add a little versatility to the game?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for him. I mean, because of the size, third base would be a tough ticket for him. I think he could do it on a whim, or it would be something that wouldn't be an everyday type thing. First base is no problem, but then again, you're crowded over there. And the way baseball is nowadays, the versatility of players is such a key component that it's nice to have that luxury as a manager. And both boys are kind of, they're sort of one-dimensional. They're obviously good hitters, but they really primary just first basemen. Kevin, I'd love to say that he could go over to third base, and when he plays in AAA, that's something that we're capable of doing, just to to show some of that, or try to add some of that versatility to his resume. But the big leagues is another step, and right now it's just if he gets that chance and they want him to do that, he'll certainly be ready for it. But right now it's just a matter of continuing to do what he's doing, and obviously which is swinging the bat, and hopefully bide your time. I mean, Christian Walker had to bide his time behind some pretty good players in his career. Back when he was with the Orioles, Chris Davis was there, and when he came over to the Diamondbacks, Paul Goldschmidt was here, and he didn't have the starting job last year going out of spring training, because he was going to split time with Jake Lamb. And then Lammer got hurt, and next thing you know, Walker's there, and he, the rest is history. He's got himself a starting position right now. So it's nice to have competition, but it's really kind of from Kevin's standpoint, it's frustrating to a point. But you know what? You got to keep doing what you do, and you got to keep finding a way to turn some heads, and hope that when that opportunity comes, you take advantage of it.
We are talking with Chris Cron, the AAA manager of the Diamondbacks in Reno, also the dad of Kevin and CJ Cron, and he's with us here on Roundtrip. Chris, you're in the PCL, Pacific Coast League, a reputation. League's got a reputation as a hitters league. How far is that overblown or not? And how do you translate PCL numbers when you're looking at kids maybe going to the majors?
Well, I really think we had a hell of an offensive explosion. I mean, this was the first year that the ball was the same as the big league ball. And you're playing at some places that are higher altitude, your Albuquerques, your Renos, your Vegases, and the ball definitely carried better than I've ever seen it. I mean, I've seen a lot of offense. I'm a big offensive guy, but when you're a manager and your team's getting hit around as well, it's hard to swallow sometimes. But it is something that is there. I mean, and when you it's still the elite still rises to the top. Like, you still have somebody's doing better than somebody else. So you can still grade it on that. No, not everybody. I mean, there's a larger pool of players doing better and showing more power, what have you. But you can still see that this is going on, and this person, is doing better than these other guys. And whether it's, and then you always want to grade. You always want to grade out guys for the smaller things and how they play the game and how they approach their at bats and the controlling of the zone and not swinging at bad pitches and they're being ready to do damage. And it just so happens that there was a lot more damage being done this year at that level.
You've been managing in the minor leagues since the 90s, and a lot of things change. Philosophies change. We know now. We talk a lot about launch angle and pitchers pitch at the top of the zone, not the bottom of the zone. So from a teaching standpoint in the minor leagues, what's maybe been the biggest shift as far as what organizations have changed their mindset in?
I think it's just more terminology than anything else. Back in the day when I played, we didn't know what the word launch angle meant, or it wasn't even invented yet. So we used the word, I want to hit a home run, or I'm going to hit a double in the gap. And just so happens that now that launch angle, that angle, or that launch angle that it comes off at is 25 degrees or 35 degrees for a home run. Those things are definitely new, and but then again, when you listen to the biggest moments of the season, the playoffs and the World Series, those guys being interviewed and they ask, what are you doing? What's the key to your success right now? And they still fall back on the most basic part of it, and that's like, I need to get a good pitch to hit, and I need to do this, I need to do that. So, sure, we need to continue to evolve into becoming to learn more stuff about all this new analytics and technology that's out there, because it can help. It's not the end all to everything, but it certainly has a space there to help, because kids are only going to want more information as time goes on. The kids in the past, we just didn't have that information. Now that we have it, they want to be as good as they can be. So we're going to have to utilize that more and more as time goes on. So the old timer in me has to continue to learn this stuff, and it's good stuff. But when you look at it from the nuts and bolts and the bottom line of it all, if you don't get a good pitch to hit and you don't find a way to get on time, it's really, really difficult to create that launch angle and to do all the technology type stuff that comes out of it. It's really difficult to do those things. So you can always fall back on the foundation of good pitch and timing.
I got to ask you one quick one, because Steve Sax works with us here. So 1992, you're up late in the season with the White Sox in September. Any memories of our own Steve Sax?
I got some good memories of Steve Sax.
All right, best Steve Sax story then
that you can use.
I can. There's one that I won't tell. It's has to do with the national anthem, but he really took me under his wing, so to speak. I'd been in the big leagues for a short time the year before. Then I come over to the White Sox, and I got called up again at the end of the year, and I guess I'm wearing these fairly ratty-looking shoes. And I'm getting on the plane, and I'm walking all the way to the back, and everybody, he obviously makes a big deal of my shoes. Dude, what kind of shoes are you wearing, man? I mean, this is embarrassing. This is a big league. You got to straighten up your act. And I thought they were acceptable. At least they were nice enough for me in my, minor league salary and pedigree and what I've ever done. And so the next morning I wake up, and there's a knock on the door, and it's the concierge or whatever, and they come up, and I go, and he's holding a Nordstrom's bag, and sure enough, Saxy buys me a pair of Cole Haan shoes, top of the line pair of shoes that I needed to wear, and I did, and I was very thankful for that. He always treated me like just a regular guy, not a rookie or anything like that, which I really, really appreciated. And, because he was an established player, done a lot of things in his career, it was really cool just to be considered like one of his guys. And I was always, like I said, I was always appreciative of that. And I always tell that story along with the national anthems one, but I can't say that on the air. But Saxy was one of a kind, and I really enjoyed hanging out with him. There's no doubt about it.
It's okay, awesome. Chris. We all have a Steve Sax story that maybe we can't share, but he's a good guy. And the only thing I can say about that story, as his current teammate, along with Jeff, when I see him or talk to him on Sunday, where are my shoes? That's what I want to. We'll ask him, Jeff.
Exactly. He may not even remembered ever doing that. It was just part of his normal thing to try to help and pass it along, or pay it forward for a rookie. So he did his part for me, and I was very fortunate and happy, lucky to be in that situation.
Chris, we appreciate you taking out some time. Being a proud dad, there's always time to talk about your kids, especially in the major leagues. Congratulations on that. That's a great story, and good luck in Reno this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you guys, anytime you need anything, give me a call.